first, double tap that screen and like the video. Just double tap the screen real quick and like the video. Let's get off to a good start.
Welcome in his verdict with Senator Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson with you. And today is a really fun day, Senator, because we have a special guest and we're in a special place. I'm going to let you do the rest of the intro.
Well, we're in the White House right now, and we're here with my friend Elon Musk, who really has not been doing much of anything, has not made any news, and nobody has noticed the impact. Welcome, Elon.
Thank you.
Holy crap.
Yes, wow.
Let me just say,
never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. The first 50 days the president has spent in office, over the top. And the first 50 days you've spent, I don't think there's ever been anyone to have an impact the way you have at the beginning. Let me start with a question you know a lot about. Which was worse?
It's like, man, the past 50 days, bro, they have been melting down over everything Trump has done. He said every executive order. It's like nothing this man has done is good. When there's been plenty of good things he's done, of course. I mean, like, bro, open up offshore drilling, and there's a lot of executive orders I could bring up that were good ones. And I ain't gonna lie, they had a meltdown over each one, still maintained the fear-mongering agenda of saying this man's a dictator.
The mess you found at Twitter or the mess you found in the federal government?
Well, it's hard to compete with the federal government.
What surprised you about the federal government? I assume you came in and assumed it was bad. Is it worse than you expected?
It is worse than I expected, but on the plus side, that means there's more opportunity for improvement. Okay. So if you look on the bright side, there's actually a lot of opportunity for improvement in federal government expenditures because it's so bad. If it was a well-run ship, it would be very difficult to improve.
So,
so now it's like people say, well, how do you figure out how to save money in the federal government? Well, it's like being in a room where the walls, the roof, and the floor are all targets. So you see any direction,
and you're
you can't miss.
Wow.
Again, I'm sure you would agree.
So a lot of folks have talked about like
you can't miss.
You can't miss.
Yeah, just go any direction.
A lot of the crazy expenditures, things like $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala,
an essential.
Transgendered mice and Sesame Street in Iraq. A lot of that has gotten attention, but some of the stuff you've told me about, tell us about computer licenses and government agencies.
Yeah. So most of what Doge is finding, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes. Okay, it's very obvious, basic stuff. So in every government department, I say every because we've not yet found a single exception. There are far too many software licenses and media subscriptions, meaning many more software licenses and media subscriptions than there are humans in the department.
Like you were saying, like an agency with 15,000 people might have 30,000 licenses.
Yes.
and even of the 15,000 employees, a good chunk of them hadn't used the license, had never logged on or used the application.
Yes. We found entire situations of software licenses or media subscriptions where there were 0 logins.
Wow.
So it had
and yet we were paying for it.
Yes. So the government was paying for thousands of licenses of software or media subscriptions, and no one had ever logged in even once.
Or like credit cards. You found this.
So pretty much we were just overspending. It's like, all right, we're going to make sure that we buy enough for everybody, to the point where we bought so much that we have we just have some open ones that we just, pay off to. It's like buying a whole bunch of Microsoft like Office subscriptions. So much they just got some subscriptions just open for the hell of it. Nobody's using it or nothing. It's just open, just taking that monthly charge.
Same thing with government credit cards.
We found that there are twice as many credit cards as there are humans.
Good.
And I still don't have a good explanation for why this is the case.
Hold on. This man say twice as many credit cards than there are humans? How does that? Okay, maybe people, no, never mind. I can see that. Because one person could have like 4 credit cards. I could see that. Yeah.
And these are $10,000 limit cards. So it's a lot of money.
Is it incompetence that you're finding, or is this like the biggest money laundering scheme in the history of the world that you're finding?
Look, I think it's mostly, if you say, look, what's the waste to fraud ratio?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's like 80% waste, 20% fraud. But you do have these sort of.
I mean, you know what? I actually like to hear that. I'd rather hear that it's 80% just waste. We're just throwing money to the wood chipper than straight up. I ain't gonna lie, man. It's straight fraud. Somebody's pocketing this. Somebody getting some type of kickback. But what Elon's talking about is just a whole bunch of subscriptions that a government bought and left open to, I guess, accrue expenses.
Gray areas.
Yeah.
So,
Example
would be, so we saw a lot of payments going out of Treasury that had no payment code and no explanation for the payment. And then we'd try to figure out what that payment is, and we'd see that, okay, that contract was supposed to be shut off, but someone forgot to shut off that contract, and so the company kept getting money.
Wow.
Now, is that waste or fraud?
Yeah, both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
But
both.
it's sort of
You
gray
know you're
area
getting something
because-
you're not.
I mean, that is a good point right there. It's like, yeah, is that waste or fraud? I'm like, dang, that kind of goes under both of them. It's like you got to damn near do a Venn diagram. It's like the one that's waste, the one that's fraud, and the one that damn near can be lined into both.
Supposed to get.
you're not supposed to get it, but the government sent it to you, and nobody from the government asked for it back. Or take, for example, the $1.9 billion given to Stacey Abrams, a fake NGO.
Utter insanity.
Explain that.
That's-
Forget
that's
the
corrupt.
story.
That's corrupt.
Yeah.
That's just corrupt, I think. That's paying off cronies at that point.
1,000%.
Yeah. And by the way, she knew. Like when you get $2 billion, you don't miss that. That's
It's not
not
an accident.
that's
Yeah,
not
allegedly it was for environmentally friendly appliances or something, and they've given like 100 appliances so far for $2 billion. It's a very expensive toaster or
but
whatever.
they're really nice.
One hell of an appliance.
that Sub-Zero fridge, boy,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Right. This is obviously one of the biggest scam fraud holes we've uncovered, which is really crazy. Is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where with the $1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit, buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
So pretty much every high up there, a politician got themselves a nice little nonprofit organization, nice little NGO that they can just, dip into the funds to, and the funds that are provided by, the American people. And there's no pretty much like drawback on there. There's no pretty much saying, why are we giving this to them? $1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams. And here's the thing, that's all we got to give her is $1.9 billion. And then she gets pay herself like, high six figures every year. Dang, I ain't gonna lie, that is wild. Like, well, I mean, we know she's making money.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes,
On the taxpayer dime.
correct.
You mentioned
And this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
Now, one of the things you told me about is what you
It's
call
insane.
magic money computers at the Treasury.
Well,
So tell us about it, because I never heard of that until you brought that up.
Okay, so you may think that that the government computers all talk to each other. They synchronize. They add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. That there's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
One would think they're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
It's actually crazy. I did the math. On $1.9 billion, bro, you could afford to pay yourself $50 million for 38 years straight. Like, hey, that's what bro, not even high six figures, bro. She was doing high six, man. She'd be 3,000 years in the game getting money. She could pay herself 50 million, really 500 million. And she's, pay herself 500 million every for 3 years straight. Bro, 50 millions for 38 years is like crazy money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers. Where
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
Bruh. Yay!
There's some at DoD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers. Where
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
You have an ability to see where leverage points are and how things actually happen. So I remember back, I think it was September, or October of this year.
Whoops. Make sure.
Before the election, we didn't know who was going to win. And I was at your house in
Yo,
Austin. We were
everything all
talking
right?
about it. And you said,
Yo.
you said, look, I don't want a job in Washington. And you said, all I want is the login for every.
Hey, who's ever in StreamYard? Stop playing around. Somebody to mute my mic. But yeah, pretty much what I was saying was, I'm like, yeah, the fact that they're just, computers just out there sending taxpayer money off to the ether is crazy. Just a computer just sitting there unmanned, just out here automatically sending taxpayer money into certain locations, just keeping it going. There's no year date on it. There's no limit on it. Just right out the window. Huh, man. You know what, man? Maybe if I dream hard enough, my bank account will work like that. You know, just money just flying into it from who knows where, just from out the ether. A man can dream, right?
And I remember thinking at the time that sounded kind of weird. Like I just didn't get it. And I have to say what's interesting on this, if I would have thought like, okay, how do you reform government? Like sort of the traditional way to think about it is, okay, give me an org chart. Let me sit down with the people who are running agencies.
But we're good though, right? We're good. Yeah, we're good.
And what you saw immediately is to understand what's really going on, get to the payment systems, get to the computers.
Yeah.
Why is getting to the computers so critical to understanding what's actually happening?
Well, the government is run by computers. So you've got essentially several hundred computers that effectively run the government. And if you want to know,
did you know that, Ben?
No.
Yeah. So when somebody, like even when the president issues an executive order, that's got to go through a whole bunch of people until ultimately it is implemented at a computer somewhere. And if you want to know what the situation is with the accounting and you're trying to reconcile accounting and get rid of waste and fraud, you must be able to analyze the computer databases. Otherwise, you can't figure it out. Because all you're doing is asking a human who will then ask another human. And
now, and we're talking about computers here. So, and this is where I'm kind of leaning towards, and rock with me on this one. But who's to say that some foreign country don't got control of our government payment system and is now sending money to, all types of places? Who's to say that some of this may not be done by our politician and some of this may be done from a lack of cybersecurity? Like, somebody might have gotten our government payment system. Now we're just sending money outside to all types of places, unbeknownst to us or our politicians. I'm just saying, we're talking about computer systems that are unmanned.
and finally, usually ask some contractor will ask another contractor to do a query on the computer.
Wow.
That's how it actually works. So it's many layers deep. So the only way to reconcile the databases and get rid of waste and fraud is to actually look at the computers and see what's going on.
So
that's what I call when I sort of cryptically refer to reprogramming the matrix. You have to understand what's going on at the computers. You have to reconcile the computer databases in order to identify the waste and fraud.
Man, and guys, make sure to like the video, man. Let's get us to 15 likes. So go ahead and double tap that screen for me to like the video. Hit the 3 dots up there in the corner. Make sure to subscribe to the channel.
I don't know that there was anyone in Congress who understood, certainly myself included, who understood the leverage that comes from the computer and the data in particular. That Congress would think about, give me a report on what your expenditures are, rather than actually getting into the pipes. And I think that has been fascinating, that it's let you uncover a bunch of crap that just nobody knew.
Yes. mean, in order for money to go to a bank account, it's not like we're sending truckloads of cash all over the place. We're wiring money.
Right.
We're sending money through the ACH system or through the SWIFT system. So in order for money to flow, it's going to flow electronically. So that's what you need to look at. You need to look at the actual electronic money flows.
And Tesla and all your
You know, so funny that people in Congress, it'd be pretty hard for them to catch this type of stuff because, well, not too many of them are tech savvy. We're talking about guys in their 50s plus, like, you know, probably lowest is like in their like 45. And the guys in their 40s are a little bit more tech savvy, but we're talking about mostly guys in their 50s. So they're thinking that, oh yeah, this comes off of some big screen computer and they just print it out. When I'm like, nah, it goes through the network, my friend. You probably don't even know what a network is and how they build the whole cloud network that all these payment systems are going through, and all these, well, I would guess financial reports are going through, which I would hope they're going through.
Your companies, you have accounting and you have every expenditure, you have it coded for what it's going for. Federal government doesn't work that way. They don't code what the money's going for.
They do now.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
And like one of the things that you told me, you said if any company kept its books the way the federal government does, they'd arrest the officers and put them in jail.
Yes. If it was a public company, it would be delisted immediately. It would fail its audit, and the officers of the company would be imprisoned. That's the level of malfeasance in the federal government, unfortunately.
It's
Deliberately, or do you think this is incompetence again?
It's 80%. It's 80% incompetence and 20% malice.
So if you look at Doge now, and you look at the government and what you're finding, what percentage have you guys even gotten to, and how much of it is Mars where you haven't even gotten there yet? Because
and I'm not talking about you older gentlemen who were in the tech field, you know, all their life. No, we're not talking about y'all. We're talking about these older gentlemen that were in politics all their life. You know, the guys that have the political science degree. You think they know anything about tech? I doubt it. But, you know, we're not talking about you old heads that's been in the game for a minute. Shout out to y'all, though.
There's so much you're finding out here. I mean, how many... You seem like a timeline guy when you say, all right, I want to get in there and get all these, you know, numbers and things. How far are we from the end game where you've seen it all, been able to process it all and fix it? I mean, are we years away, months away?
Not years. I mean, I'm reasonably confident that we'll be able to get $1 trillion of waste and fraud out. And that meaning that we'll have a net savings in FY26, which starts in October, obviously, of $1 trillion.
Wow!
Provided we're allowed to continue, and our progress is not impeded. And we're very public about what we do.
Yeah, you put it on the website.
It's on the website.
I don't know how we could be more transparent. Literally every action we do, small or large, we put on the Doge.gov website, and we post on the X handle. And when people complain about it, and they say, "Oh, you're doing something unconstitutional,ble," I'm like, "Well, which of these cost
You're doing
savings?"
it in the daylight. I mean, everyone knows exactly what you're doing.
Extreme transparency.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything's been this transparent ever.
So 5 years ago, you were a hero to the left. You were cool. You had electric cars. You had space. And in 5 years, I
could go to a party in Hollywood and not get dirty looks.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like bro is coming out with the EV cars. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you should get a Tesla. It's saving the environment and all this good stuff. And he had the coolest EV car, admittedly. So it is quite shocking that now everybody's turning their back on Tesla. And it's kind of like, what you mean? Like y'all was loving it. Everybody was ghost riding the Tesla until Elon, you know, sided with Trump. Yeah, now it's, you know, well, y'all know what's going on with Tesla. But the man worth $500 billion. He'll be okay. He'll be all right.
And
now you might not even get invited.
I think it's
still get invited, but I don't know if I should go.
And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say today, after Donald Trump, the left hates you more than any person on earth.
Yes, I appear to be number two. I mean, if you're judged by the various signs,
it's derangement. It's Trump derangement syndrome and Elon derangement syndrome.
Yes.
How is it that for you? That's a little bit of whiplash.
Oh, and don't forget the Putin derangement syndrome. You got to throw that in there too.
Of going from being like Mr. Cool to the devil incarnate in just a couple of years. Is that kind of weird to experience that transformation?
Yes.
Why do they hate you so much?
Well, because we're clearly over the target. If Doge was ineffective, if we were not actually getting rid of a bunch of waste and fraud, and a bunch of that fraud, I mean, the fraud we're seeing is overwhelmingly on the left. I mean, it's not zero on the right, but these NGOs are almost all left-wing NGOs that are being funded, for example.
Yep.
So they hate me because Doge is being effective, and Doge is getting rid of a lot of waste and fraud that people on the left were taking advantage of. That's what it comes down to. And the single biggest thing that they're worried about is that Doge is going to turn off fraudulent payments of entitlements. I mean, everything from Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, disability, small business administration loans, turn them off to illegals. This is the crux of the matter.
Yep.
Hey,
Okay, this is the thing.
so it's not about turning it off to the people. They're pretty much worried about turning it off for the illegals, but they're framing it as if they give an F about the people. Now, this was coming out of Elon Musk's mouth. And now, I ain't gonna lie, the way the Democrats been speaking it, they sound pretty convinced that they're cutting, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security from everybody. They sound pretty convinced, but Elon is giving us the perspective that no, they're just trying to protect illegals. That you know them. They've been protecting illegals for 4 years. You think they stop now?
Thing that why they really hit my guts and want me to die.
And do you think that's billions, hundreds of billions? What do you think the scale is of that?
I think across the country, it's well north of 100 billion, maybe 200 billion. By using entitlements fraud, the Democrats have been able to attract and retain vast numbers of illegal immigrants
And buy voters.
and buy voters. Exactly. They basically bring in, I don't know, 10, 20 million people who are beholden to the Democrats.
What I tell y'all, man, we've been saying this during the election. Like, the reason they're letting these people in and they're pushing them into these states that do not require voter ID is because they're trying to take the election with immigrants. A whole new class of people that is, I ain't gonna lie, beholden to the Democratic Party. Oh yeah, you let us into this great country. Okay, cool. We vote for you. We keep you in power. And y'all make sure we stay here. And then you're gonna also, put us over the American people. That's another reason. I mean, it sounds like a great deal for an illegal. I really can't blame them. I really cannot blame them from coming over here. If that's the deal we're giving them for the past 4 years, I cannot be mad. You can only blame our government
For government handouts, and will vote overwhelmingly Democrat, as has been demonstrated in California. This is
It's an election strategy.
yes,
It's power.
yes, and it doesn't take much to turn the swing states blue. I mean, often a swing state might be won by 10, 20,000 votes.
Sure.
So if the Dems can bring in 200,000 illegals and over time get them legalized, not counting any cheating that takes place, because there is some cheating, but even without cheating, if you bring in illegals that are 10x the voter differential in a swing state, it will no longer be a swing state.
Right.
And the Dems will win all the swing states, just a matter of time, and America will be permanent, deep blue socialist state. The House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court will all go hardcore Dem. They will then further cement that by.
I ain't gonna lie, if it did go hardcore, then we would officially be a socialist state. I mean, handouts for everybody, and I ain't gonna lie, the manufacturing class would have been destroyed. The taxes would have been too high. The taxes would have just been too high for any company to stay here, bro. They was gonna raise the corporate tax, raise it to 35%. Trust me. When we had troubles keeping companies here with 21, 35, oh yeah, they're really gonna get up out of here.
By bringing in even more aliens, so you can't vote your way out of it.
Their objective is to make it
one-party socialist state, and it'll be much worse than California.
The funny thing about these socialist states is that here's the thing: like, since we do not control our millionaires or our higher class, and we let them go wherever they want, it's not like we can lock them down and make them do business in America. We cannot do that. We don't do that, and thank God we don't do that, because that would just be terrible. So that gives them every right to take their business and skedaddle.
California, because at least California is mitigated by the fact that someone can leave
Right.
California.
You can go to Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
But
you
they're
did.
going to make everywhere California but worse.
By the way, the middle of the pandemic, I spent 45 minutes on the phone with Elon. He was still in California. I was walking my dog, Snowflake, and trying to convince you, come to Texas. The commies in California can't stand you. We love you. We want you here. And,
Yeah.
and you didn't quite go then, but you went not that long afterwards.
I mean, the COVID actions almost killed Tesla because they let every other auto plant in the country was allowed to open, but ours, which was in California, was not allowed to open.
Wow.
So they almost killed Tesla.
So
Yeah.
as a personal matter, do you ever regret it? Like 5 years ago, you go to the Oscars and we're
And guys, let's get us to 20 likes, man. So we don't need 4 likes. So go ahead and double tap that screen for me, guys. Double tap the screen or hit the 3 dots up there in the corner and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. Let's go.
Mr. Cool, and now you've got death threats every day. Like, do you?
Well, these days the Oscars are boring. I wouldn't want to go.
God bless the movies they nominate. No one on earth has ever seen. Like, could they actually nominate a movie that human beings go watch?
I mean, how many great movies have come out in the last several years? Very few.
Depressingly few.
Yeah, very few. The last Oscars came and went. I didn't even watch it. There's nothing to see.
I was sad that Gene Hackman just passed away because Unforgiven was spectacular, but that was a long time ago.
I ain't gonna lie. I didn't watch it, but I looked up the list of movies, just to see if they had anything good I'd want to watch. And they did not. They did not have not a damn thing. I was like, bro, I read the plots to all these and everything, and I'm just like, I ain't gonna lie. It's kind of
gay.
Yeah, they kind of went, they hard lined on that. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
That Unforgiven came out.
You mentioned today here and before about the possibility of someone wanting to take you out.
And shout out my man D-Lion Fire, man. He said, still love what you do. Now I appreciate the support, man. And shout out, Baller Alert. Hey man, great way to start us off, brother.
Dealing with the death threats. We see
it's not in my imagination. You can just look on social media.
Yeah.
But like, is it because?
I make that very clear.
Yeah, and look, I'm very familiar with it.
And they've got signs. There are people with signs and demonstrations saying that I need to die.
Do you think are these just whack jobs, or do you think there are foreign
not sane people?
Yeah.
Do you think there are foreign entities behind this? Do you think there are domestic entities behind the threats and also the attacks to Twitter, or not Twitter, Tesla? I mean, you're getting Tesla's charging stations lit on fire. Do you think that's organized and paid for?
Yes, at least some of it is organized and paid for. I think by domestic, basically left-wing organizations in America, funded by left-wing billionaires, essentially.
Is it like Act Blue or what?
Act Blue is one of them. There's Arabella. The classic. It's fun.
Act Blue, George Soros. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Every time I think about Act Blue, it is George Soros funded, open source funded,
funded by the
Open Foundation.
The blue, basically the left wing NGO cabal.
How big of a threat is this to what you built at Tesla? I mean, I remember when Teslas came out, it was people that they didn't want to have gas cars. A lot of it was environmental reasons. I jokingly said, I was like, I'm a Texas guy. I'm always going to have something that burns gas. My kids now, all three.
And shout out my man Daniel Castro. He says, how dare you, S.E.T? I've seen most jeans work. Really? I haven't.
3 of my boys think that Teslas are awesome. The Cybertruck is the car they want their dad to buy, which I laugh because I never could have imagined that 5 years ago. And now I'm looking at.
You said every genre. You said I've seen most genres work. I don't, bro. Man, you Castro. Come on, really, guys. Yeah, y'all rocking with Castro on this one. I guess so.
We're at the White House and the president's Tesla is parked right outside the West Wing, which is the coolest damn thing.
But I mean, you've changed a generation. When you look at my kids are 6 and 8, and they're going, Dad, buy a Cybertruck, and I'm considering it. That's a full.
I thought you said, all right. I thought y'all was talking about something else. My bad. I was looking. My bad. All right, good. But you seen most jeans work. I mean, you know what? I kind of want to ask you what you mean, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Circle in a weird way.
I don't want to start calling people ugly out here.
Yeah. Well, I do have this theory that the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. So, yeah, it seems often to be true. You see, like, what twist or turn of fate?
Really?
Well, I will
would generate
say-
the highest ratings. If we were a TV show, what twist or turn of fate would generate the highest ratings? There's a good chance that happens.
Well, I will say if Act Blue and Arabella Networks,
ActBlue is a huge scam, next level.
do you think it's foreign money, Chinese money? Where do you think the money?
No, that boy Soros money. Soros money. I mean, it's not as, you know what? If I was to rank it, what would be worse? Chinese money? That's not. Let me ask y'all, what would be worse to be receiving? Chinese money or George Soros money? So we're talking about extremely socialist money or extremely communist money, like, or well, oligarch communist money. Which one y'all want?
Money in Act Blue is coming from, and how do you figure that out?
Well, it's not coming from from a whole bunch of from a groundswell of public support.
No, either one.
Because when individual donors are looked at in Act Blue, they eventually turn out to be like diehard Republicans,
Right.
People that have never given money in their life. So you're going to track down a bunch of these people where it says, "Oh, I gave $16,000," and they're like, "I didn't give $16,000. What are you talking about?" There's
Well,
I mean,
if those
Republican friends of mine found themselves on the Act Blue list, they're like, "It definitely wasn't me." So that's
if it can actually be shown that they are funding firebombing of Tesla charging stations, that's objectively a criminal act. That is funding terrorist activity, and the statutes make clear that an incendiary device qualifies. So that's a big deal.
Is a terrorist.
All right, let me go ahead and give my man a shout out again, because I probably was when my mic cut out. Shout out D-Law on Fire, man. He says, still love what you do, man. I appreciate it. I thought I got the shout out earlier. Appreciate the support, bro.
Activity. Yeah.
Let me ask AI. In 10 years, how is life going to be different because of AI for just a normal person?
Well, 10 years is a long time. In 10 years, probably AI could do anything better than a human can cognitively. Probably almost, I think in 10 years, based on the current rate of improvement, AI will be smarter than the smartest human.
I mean, as soon as we connect them to robots, man, they'll be out here doing open heart surgery flawlessly. Out here doing the most complicated of surgeries flawlessly. Complicated procedures with tech flawlessly. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I always did like the idea that Joe Rogan was talking about, like, yeah, if we let AI take over everything, we got to find a way to, one, make AI work for us, and then two, we got to pretty much AI got to pay everybody, because you done took everybody's jobs. And come on now.
Yeah.
We can't just let the rich people you have all the rights to AI, because, well, at a certain point, I'm pretty sure that's going to lead to a rebellion. You know, the poor is going to take their head for real, because, you know, the disparity is going to be too great. Like, think about it. They own all the AI. The AI can pretty much runs all the jobs, and most everybody's out of a job. Yeah, that's not going to end out well.
There will also be a massive number of robots. So humanoid robots.
By the way, I got to ask, how come your robots look so much like the creepy robots for my robot? Was that intentional or just...
I was hoping he was going to say, yeah, just to mess with you.
Nah, for real, though. I did say the same thing. I'm like, bro, come on. The iRobot design did kind of freak me out. I was like, now you know them robots turned against us, right? And you know those some cold-ass robots. Now, shout out my man Daniel Castro. He said, watch The Quick and the Dread. Not even Huss best work, but I bet you $10 you'll change your tune. All right, I have no choice but to give it a shot. All right.
It's not meant to look like any prior robot. We'll iterate the design. You'll be able to have a lot of the robot parts are cosmetic. You'll be able to switch out the kind of snap-on cosmetic parts of the robot, make it look like something else if you'd like. So there will be ultimately billions of humanoid robots. All cars will be self-driving.
in 10 years?
In 10 years, probably
Quick and the Dread.
90%.
Oh, Quick and the Dead. Quick and the Dead.
of miles driven will be autonomous.
Huh.
Wow.
That fast.
Yeah. In 5 years, probably 50% of all miles driven will be autonomous.
Now, if AI will be smarter than any person, how many jobs go away because of that? And what do people do if you've got millions of people that are losing their jobs? Like that, a lot of people are understandably freaked out about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Rightfully so.
goods and services will become as close to free. So it's not as though people will be wanting in terms of goods and services.
So why is that? Why are goods and services free in an AI world or close to free?
Well, you have, I don't know.
I would say because due to the hard work for mankind, and if everybody is somehow contributing to the running of the AI, yeah, everything should be free. Like we're pretty much contributing to how AI is being ran. We're running the grid and all that. Like everybody now got to get a job at the AI factory or at the AI plant. Then yeah, everything should be essentially free because that's the only thing we can do at that point is maintain AI.
Bruh.
Put tens of billions of robots. That they will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing. It's not that people will have a lower standard of living; they'll have actually a much higher standard of living. The challenge will be
Facts though. Facts, Planet. That's why I said I'm like, there's gonna have to be some type of labor involved where, like I said, we're working for the benefit of AI. Ain't no way AI just gonna be running and taking care of all of our jobs and we just sitting back getting like what 30K a month or something? Like what y'all gonna put us on? And what would be a luxury wage where everybody in America would just be like, all right, cool, go ahead, AI, run it. How much would it be? How much could they pay us to just sit on our ass all day and let AI take care of everything? You know, I've heard 200K. Shoot, I've heard 300. And then I've heard as low as like low key 90. I'm like, okay.
fulfillment. How do you derive fulfillment and meaning in life?
Is Skynet real? Like you get the apocalyptic visions of AI. How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely, maybe
Wow.
10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years.
So soon, like you see a world where that's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, you could look at it like the glass is 80, 90% full, meaning like 80% likely will have extreme prosperity for all.
Now, I guess my view, we're in a race to win AI. We're in a race with China. And my view is if they're going to be killer robots, I'd rather they be American killer robots than Chinese. How likely are we winning right now? Is America winning right now? And how likely is America to win the race for AI vis-a-vis China or anyone else?
For the next few years, I think America.
So pretty much AI, 80% prosperity for all, 20% sinks us. I mean, shit, if you're a gambling man, those are some good odds, right? Personally, I don't like those odds just because I know that 20% is pretty damn dire.
Is likely to win. Then it will be a function of who controls the AI chip fabrication. The factories that make the AI chips, who controls them? If more of them are controlled by China, then China will win.
More of the factories that are making the AI chips. You think that will determine it?
Yes.
Yep.
And how are we doing versus China on that front?
Well, right now, almost all the advanced AI chip factories, they call them fabs.
Hey, what's good, man?
Are in Taiwan.
And what if China invades
69
Taiwan?
miles away from.
Yeah. What happens if China? If China invades Taiwan, what happens to the world?
Well, if they were to invade in the near term, the world would be cut off from advanced AI chips.
And
currently, 100% of advanced AI chips are made in Taiwan.
How fast could we put that online in America, and how important is that for national security?
I think it's essential for national security, and we're not doing enough.
You're 53 years old. I'm 118 days older than you. By the way, what the hell have I done in my life?
I know, right?
53 years old.
You're doing pretty well.
I mean, you're not broke. I'll tell you that.
Well,
So 71 was a great year.
and I was December 70, so I was just right before.
Okay.
You were the summer of 71.
I was born 69 days after 420.
Wow. I did ask Ben.
This is true.
Look,
this is true. All right, you just
Okay.
can't work.
And there is the autistic. I was born 69 days after 420. Okay. Okay. That's hilarious. That's hilariously autistic.
I did ask Ben, should I show up and pull up a joint and say, can we beat Rogan's views? But I was pretty sure it might cause a scandal if we
What
smoke
if it's
pot in the
like
White House.
It just turned out to be like a chocolate cigar.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if today was your last day on Earth,
Yeah. What?
what I'm not suggesting it's going to be, but if it were, what do you think your biggest legacy would be? Of everything you've done 100 years from now, what do you think people would remember if it were 0 to today?
And will you ever go to space?
In the distant future, 100 or 1,000 years ago, if SpaceX got humans to Mars, that's what they would remember me for.
All right, final set of questions.
I would hope.
Who's the smartest guy you've ever met? You hang out with some brilliant people. Like when you look, what's a CEO you look at other than yourself? What CEO do you say, damn, that guy's good?
Larry Ellison's very smart. So I'll say Larry Ellison's one of the smartest people. Larry Page. I mean, there are a lot of people that are very smart. It's hard to say, like, I think to some degree, smart is as smart does. So, what have they done that is difficult and significant? Jeff Bezos has done a lot of difficult and significant things. I mean, there are a lot of smart humans. I call them smart for a human. A lot of people who are in the smart for a human category.
All right, final lightning round. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
The first
Star Wars. It gotta be Hey, look, hold on, man. Star Wars. Point blank. I ain't even trying to debate this. It's Star Wars. God damn it. I'll fight to the death on that. Meet me outside.
movie I saw in the theater was Star Wars, so I think it had a profound effect on me. I was 6 years old, I think. Imagine if the first movie you ever see in a theater is Star Wars. It's going to blow your mind.
Best Star Wars movie?
Thank you.
Shit.
Empire Strikes Back.
The only objectively right answer. I stood in line for 3 hours with my dad to see it on opening day. Kirk or Picard?
I like them both, but Kirk.
Now I remember I waited hell long just to see episode 3 when I was a kid, man. That's
Again, objectively right answer. By the way, James T. Kirk is a Republican and Picard is a Democrat, and the left gets very mad.
And look, man, when it comes to this Star Wars and Star Trek debate, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm the real.
This is Sparta!
Star Wars, bitch. I'll tell y'all.
When I say that.
Yeah.
Best Star Trek movie?
I mean, the first Star Trek movie, maybe?
Like,
Now that's in
Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan. Actually, both Wrath of Khans were pretty good. But yeah, the original Wrath of Khan.
Ricardo Montalban. Revenge is a dish best served cold. It is very cold in space. Yeah. Although I will say, Wrath of Khan is objectively the right answer, but 4 is a sleeper. When they go back to San Francisco and go find the whales, and Scotty picks up the mouth and talks to it, then goes, a keyboard. How quaint. That's a sleeper. All right, last question.
But all right.
Question.
I'm about to go.
Did Han shoot first?
Hilarious.